Pretty alert would be in the air on their flight to the other side of the planet. 2,000 bombs, strategic nuclear weapons, very high yield. And they could kill over 100 million Russians and Americans within 30 minutes.
When we were working on nuclear arms control, I found myself in a meeting in the Pentagon with a colonel. We got a short exchange about this, and in this context of this exchange, he said, "But I don't understand what would be such a big deal if there were a nuclear exchange. Only about 500 million people would die. Life would go on afterwards." And I can remember having a feeling like Woody Allen in Annie Hall. I'm sorry, I've got an appointment back on planet Earth.
I don't think that anyone really knows how many nuclear weapons there are on the planet today.
Наверное, копилось много.
Does anyone know that?
50, наверное.
100? Maybe thousands. I don't know, far more than I know.
6,000.
Я думаю, более 10 тысяч, наверное, есть. I don't know. 15,000.
20,000.
50,000?
100,000. 500,000.
There's enough nuclear firepower in one U.S. nuclear sub to annihilate probably half the planet.
Достаточно, чтобы уничтожить Землю. I've heard people say that we have enough nuclear weapons to create a new sun.
It only takes a couple to eliminate the city.
Do you know how many there are?
We estimate that there are about 23,000 nuclear weapons in the world still. The good news is there used to be 60,000, so we've cut those arsenals by more than half. But we, the United States, still has about 1,500 hydrogen bombs on missiles poised for launch in 15 minutes or less. The really bad news is the Russians have the same.
If the Russians fired missiles at the United States, the first warning would come from satellites, and they could detect the flame from the booster rocket within seconds, easily within a minute. Suddenly, this early warning hub in the United States would become very frenzied to try to figure out whether this is a false alarm or whether this is a real attack, and determine this within 60 seconds. The president would receive a briefing from the duty officer at Strategic Command Headquarters. That briefing of the president of his response options and their consequences has to be delivered in as little as 30 seconds. The president normally would have no more than 12 minutes to make a decision, and maybe as little as 10 seconds.
I knew that if the Soviets did launch an attack, that it would take 26 minutes for an ICBM to leave Russian soil and land in Washington or New York. And I had that much time to decide how to respond.
И каждую минуту мы были на чеку, готовы дать ответный удар. И надо принимать решение. Иногда получается, они докладывают, что по срокам полета этих головок остаются считанные минуты.
The timeline was very short. You had just a few minutes to make a decision how to respond. at what level of intensity. Somewhere before the 10th minute, the order to execute would be issued. Strategic Air Command probably would be airborne already by then, just as a precaution. There might be a presidential evacuation so that the president would survive an attack in Washington. Although I know of cases in which the president chose not to be evacuated. And roughly by the 28th minute at the latest, those of us not evacuated would be dead.
For us, it was a kind of suicide duty. Any missile landing within half a mile of our location would probably have killed us. If we had survived the attack, we were supposed to go to a designated rendezvous point. Our air would only last 24 hours. So we go out through an escape tube, which was filled with sand. We'd have to release the bolts on the cover and let the sand fall through, and then crawl up the tube. Our tube came up under the parking lot, so we'd have to break through the asphalt to get out. The rendezvous point might be 50 or 100 miles away, and you'd have to walk. Didn't really matter though. Everyone knew the radiation would kill us quickly anyway, and you never make it to the rendezvous.